Well, Sophie Cunningham, I'm so glad that we're sitting down finally. We've been talking about doing this for a long time.
A year?
Like a year, yeah. Is it my fault or yours?
I think I'll take the blame.
Yes, it's your fault.
Your fault too, but I'll take the blame.
It's definitely my fault too. But let's talk about, like, I think I want to jump out with this question because it's interesting, maybe to me and maybe to the rest of the world. And then we'll kind of back ourselves into the rest of life.
I like this.
But why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do
God.
do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk
dude.
to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders. And I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day, for real.
But what is that? It might not be from you, but like, what is it feels it's not hate, but is it jealousy? Is it envy? Is it just like, what is it?
Yeah. I see both sides. I'm not an extremist in any way.
Yeah.
And so I like to see both sides of each party. I think when you have older people in the league, they work their tails off and they didn't get the recognition. They don't get paid millions of dollars before they even step on the court. You know what I mean? And for them, it's all about, okay, well, what are your stats? What are you doing for the actual game? Like, while you're playing.
Yeah.
And then for them, this is amazing for women's basketball. This is amazing for women's sports in general. You have so many people, so many new and fresh eyes on our sport that maybe they're a little uneducated and maybe they kind of stir the pot a little bit. And so I get that. But for that class to come in, you have her, you have Angel Reese, you have some other big names, but really those two and the amount of millions of followers that they brought to our league, you have to applaud them and you have to be fans of that. Because if you're smart, it's not about money, but if you're smart, you're going to be making a lot more money too because of those guys.
Yeah, I think, and that was the next question I was going to ask was about Angel, because obviously you got two young ladies that are just insane. Yeah. They're great players. And I don't know. I mean, obviously you're in the league. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm in and around the league with the NBA specifically. Yep. But I wondered, is it more of the media? Is it more drumming up stuff? Is it more for ratings? And like, because both of them are really kind of getting a lot of flack. And they can both play. Yes. So it's like, is there a respect from the players? And I'm not talking about like somebody says a mark or two. Like, everybody does that. Yeah. That's sports. That's basketball. That's trash talk. But it's also part of the game. But is there a respect for both of those players from the players?
I think you have to earn your respect. And that's not just them. That's everyone who steps in the W. This is the best league in the entire world, and only the best survive. The strongest survive in this league. And you might find success early, you might find success late or in the middle, whatever it is. But when you step in this type of community, and especially if you're high ranked and then you have all this other stuff that some people might be jealous, some people might not understand why they're getting all the attention when they haven't even played one game yet, that you're going to get everyone's best shot. And that's what it is. If you're the #1 draft pick, like, you are going to get everyone's best shot. But with the whole thing about, it's too rough or they're targeting. No, I've had my jaw broken. I've torn both my elbows. I've broken my finger, torn up my knee a couple times, like shoulder. Like, it is a tough league. Like, that is the #1 complaint. That's like, you can be so good at your skill set. You can shoot, you can dribble, you can do whatever you do. But the physicality is the #1 thing that you have to get used to. And I think that it's a learning experience. It's all about playing games. It's learning the league. It's that's what it is. It's experience and being able to play with them at the top. I don't even know how to say this. It's like high school to college is a jump. College to pros is like 20 times that with the physicality. So it's like me going against a linebacker, but you get used to it. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I've seen that. And I think even high school to college, depending on even what level. Yeah. Whether college is college, but whether you're NAIA D3, 2, 1, upper D1, like, and then the pros, it's just a different thing. I mean, I see the physicality. I feel like there's more. I feel like there's more fire in the WNBA than there is in the NBA until maybe playoff time for the NBA. But you have fire, and that's one thing we talk about. A little feisty, a little fire. What's it like being a believer in Jesus Christ, a follower of Jesus, a woman of God in the WNBA?
Man, it's different. I'll tell you that. But I think my journey, I've had to learn, like, I'm very competitive. I'm very, very competitive. And like in high school and in college, sometimes it's to a fault. And I had to like learn how to, what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to make sure I don't make myself look dumb if I'm being too competitive. And so I've really had to learn how to channel that. And I think I've done a really good job, because sometimes when I looked back on film in high school and college, I'm like, dang, I don't want people to think that like that's who I am. Like I want to make sure people know that my heart is big, that I'm a people's person. But when I step in between those courts, I am different, but there is a way to handle that. And so I've actually learned that only the past 3 years. Like I'm 27 years old, and it took me like 24 years to figure out how to handle all this fire and feistiness and sassiness that God gave me, because I think that is my superpower as well. But I've learned that my competition isn't with anyone else. Like God gave me all these gifts and blessings to show all these young boys and girls, and sometimes parents too, and older people, like it's okay to be like this, but you got to learn how to channel it a little bit. And so for me to be a believer in the W, I think there's a lot more believers than you would actually expect, because a lot of people don't speak out about it. I think our league is very, they want to have a certain look to them. They want to have a certain style to them. And if you speak out against it, sometimes they want to hush you, but that's not what I'm here for. Like I am loud, I am confident. And I think being actually a woman of God, it's allowed me to walk into rooms with my shoulders back, and I have a different type of swag and confidence about me because I know God has me.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks.
You when your confidence comes from above, and not just trying to muster it up in your own self. You are built that way. You're built with fire.
Yep.
You're built with fire. I took my young, we talked about this, but I took my youngest daughter to a game, and I was watching that fire come through your mouth. to the officials. I got a text
from my parents. I know.
To the officials, and I thought to myself, I said, you remind me of my oldest daughter who played college basketball, but just so fiery. And I think you're right. When you step on the court, you're in between the lines, like it's competition.
Yeah.
And but you still want to, you're still representing not only Sophie Cunningham and the brand of Sophie, but Christ and God. And I think the fire represents God well. It's the work ethic. It's the tenacity, right? What's it like? Who's the hardest person you've ever guarded in the WNBA in your opinion?
I'd have to give it to Stewie, Brianna Stewart from New York. She's just an animal. She's 6'4". She can be a point guard. She could be a shooting guard. She could be a post player. Like, it's insane. And I'm 6'1", 165 pounds. I'm not shy about it. And like, she makes me feel like a dweeb, but it's fine. A
dweeb. How old were you when you started playing basketball?
Ever since I was little. So I come from a family of athletes. My grandpa played football at Mizzou. My dad and uncle played football at Mizzou. Mom was actually at Missouri State playing softball, transferred back up to Mizzou to do track and field. Aunt played basketball at Mizzou, and then me and my sister both played basketball at Mizzou. And so ever since I was little, sports was just in our blood. Like that's where I thrived. That's where I was like my purest form of Sophie. And so it wasn't always just basketball. It was swimming, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, until I got way too big, split the beams, never doing that again. Ever. And then I actually played a little bit of football in high school. Oh my God, that is so bad.
Did you? Did you?
Long story, but someone blew out their knee. I kicked a 45-yard field goal, and they're like, "So we need you to
come on."
And I was like, "Say less." But it was so embarrassing because it was homecoming, and so all these girls, I was on the courts, so all these girls look so pretty in their dresses, and I'm out there with like my little date, and I'm like in football pads, and he's like in a suit, and I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome. This is typical."
That is awesome. So you made the field goal.
I did.
You made the field goal. You like a soccer style kick.
Yeah.
It's because you had some soccer experience.
Oh yeah, Lindsay, my sister Lindsay, she was supposed to dual sport with soccer and basketball, and I was actually supposed to dual sport with volleyball and basketball. But once I committed out of 8th grade to play at Mizzou, they're like, "No more soccer. That's the biggest risk of ACL tear." But
wait, say that again.
So
no more soccer, what?
Because it's the biggest risk of ACL injuries.
So when you went into high school, it was basketball only?
No, I did. Nope. It was basketball, volleyball, track and field, and then a little bit of football. Wow. So the more sports you can play, I'm a firm believer that it helps you with whatever you choose to do. Volleyball help with jumping, soccer, footwork, football, I don't know, be tough. I got tackled a couple times. I don't even know what that helped me with, but track and field, obvious, running. So I loved my high school experience.
How does that, so you're talking about basically cross training.
Yeah.
So play this, play that, but you say that, but you have an unfair advantage with your height and with your athleticism, because a lot of kids, they're smaller or whatever. They're not going to be able to play multiple sports. You're at a bigger high. Were you at a big high school?
I was. Yeah. Pretty big high school.
So that's impressive.
Yeah.
So when did you know that basketball was the one for college?
Honestly, it was really hard for me to choose between volleyball and basketball. And I truly did have to pray about it, because I'm I love both. They both excite me. I'm blessed to say that I was really good at both of them. But then I just felt kind of a tug that I was I can't really be as physical as I want to be on volleyball. You know what I mean? I can't elbow someone. I can't do what I want to do. They don't really trash talk as much, and for me, that fires me up. That fires up my team. I'm such a team person. And so I just felt God was really pushing me towards basketball. So that's why I chose it.
What do you think is when it comes to, I'm just thinking about basketball. You decide, okay, that's my route. Even as a high school kid, early college, did you ever think you would be in the WNBA? I mean, was it a thought maybe someday, or was it a thought no, I'm going, that's my goal?
No. So ever since I was little, I would say 3 years old, people would be or 4. I don't even know when people talk. I have no kids, so I don't know when kids start talking. That I just always wanted to be a professional athlete. I didn't know what it was. And it's funny because I did all these steps, and it was hard. I always act like it. I don't always act like it, but people always think it's rainbows and butterflies and you have a competitive advantage. No, it's freaking hard. All through high school, especially starting my freshman year when I was 15 to when I was 18 years old, I was home for 5 days a whole summer. Missed out on all the school trips, proms, dances, because I was playing. And no one ever talks about the sacrifices you have to make. But I think when you are on the journey of doing something great and representing something even greater, the sacrifices are going to be a lot larger, but they're going to be way worth it in the end. So I will say that. But I always thought I would be a pro athlete. But my first day of summer camp with Mizzou basketball, I called my parents and I was I'm quitting. They made me run 3 miles. And I'm
wait, your parents made you?
No, no.
I'm wait, what?
I had weights and conditioning at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was humbly, I say this seriously. I really don't like talking about everything that I've done, but I was a very high ranked player coming out of high school, McDonald's All-American. Mizzou was not a very good basketball team at basketball roster at the start of it. That was part of my goal was to get them on the map to show what Mizzou was about.
Yeah.
Did that. But my first day ever, I literally called my parents at 7 a.m. I'm I'm quitting. I'm not built for this.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So that was fun.
It was mainly the running.
Yeah. And just
kind of all of it.
Yeah. Right, it's well, if you don't meet this time, then you're not. I'm I could bust all y'all right now. I don't care what my 3 mile was, but it is. It all worked out in the end, I'd say.
So your sister played.
Mm-hmm.
How old is she?
She's
close to your age.
Yeah, oh my gosh, she's 30 right now. Okay. She's old.
She's old. 30's not old. Okay, so did you compete against her a lot?
Oh yeah. Yeah, best friends, been through everything together. She is my favorite human, the best leader I've ever been around. Everyone's always oh, Sophie, da-da-da. I'm if you knew Lindsay, I am nothing compared to Lindsay. And so growing up, we would always the typical sister thing. We grew up on a farm. My dad was a contractor. My mom worked for the governor at the time, but my grandparents farmed around anywhere from 900 to 2,500 acres of soybeans and corn. And so we were so pretty large operation. They had cows and all that type of stuff. So we were really close with our extended family. Love them. But Lindsay and I, it was always us two. And so we would always just be finding something to play catch with or kick the ball around, basketball. But it would always be we'd be playing, they would hear someone start crying because we get in a fight and it was bad. And then 5 minutes later we were out doing the same thing. So we just she's the best person ever.
So you're still very close today.
So close.
She comes to your games, or?
So she's back in Missouri.
Yeah.
She actually just had a baby 4 months ago. She does medical sales. Her husband does recruiting for tech companies and whatnot, and they're just amazing people. So when I go home, I'm like, gosh, like, this is the life I want, like they have land, they're married, they're having kids, they want like 5 to 6 kids. And so to me, they're like kind of living the dream. Yeah. And then when they can get out here because of work and all their animals, whatnot, they're out here, but we still talk every single day. So
how does that work? Like for you and your emotions when you're in the league, you're not married, mm-hmm. you don't have kids. But you are 27, and a lot of 27-year-olds, they're married. They have a kid or 2 or 3 in some cases. Like, tell me about that as a part of being your career. Yeah. Because I feel like, some players are, they're married or they get pregnant and have mm-hmm. a child, but like that adds so much when you're trying to be a professional athlete.
Absolutely. For me, no one really warned you or tells you, I wouldn't say warn, because we are very blessed to be in the situation to dribble basketball up and down a court for a living. So I don't want to lose perspective of that. But no one tells you about how hard the lifestyle is. Like, you are on the road 24/7. If some people have partners that understand their lifestyle and they've played basketball, so they get it, others don't. And it ends up probably not being the best relationship because they don't understand the time demands, them being gone all the time, all the social stuff we have to do. But for me, I think I'm perfectly placed. Like, I do want a husband and I do want kids, but I am like so satisfied with where I'm at in life right now because I know that like it's God's timing. And the more that I'm like, oh, I go home. Yeah. Everyone back home is married and they have kids. And I'm like literally the only single one. Yeah. And so when I'm there, I'm like, like, are my priorities in check? Like, is this really where you want me? And so I pray about it all the time. I pray for my husband every single night and my future kids. It's just one of the things I do because if I don't, I get anxious about it. I worry about it, but that does nothing for me. And so I really do trust in his timing. And I know he's got me. So when it's right, it will be right. And for me right now, I need to focus on basketball and like being the best version of myself every single day.
So on that note, so
I'm single. Okay, Trav.
okay, you're single. So, but what's the perfect man look like?
I'm not shy about this at all. Like, I grew up in Missouri. Mizzou is like the number 3 party school. Like, I'm your very like typical like. I had last night we went to church and Darrison's whole thing was about, did you have a fake ID? And I was like, well, yeah, you know what? I did. And I get it honest. Yeah. Right. And and it's part of my journey. And like, I'm not shy about it because a lot of people who might go through the same things I have, like, I don't want to make them feel bad for it. Like, there is time and you know what I mean? Like it's part of life sometimes. And so for me, I went through like the huge party stage. I've been with guys, but now that like I'm actually like where I'm at now today, my number one thing is like I want someone to push me towards Christ. And like if you're not about it and you don't talk about it, then just don't talk to me. Like I have my blinders on and I still like have a bunch of guy friends. I still like I'm open to ideas and whatnot, but like my number one thing is like I want you to lead our house and like lead our future kids to serve and love a good God.
Great.
Yeah. And I'm not just saying that because a lot of people say that. Yeah. And sometimes in my life, I have said that and I haven't backed it up with the people that I've dated. And they've all been great, but it just wasn't enough, like it wasn't the center of our relationship. And so now I'm like, if you aren't about that, get away. Like I'll kick you, get away.
But is it hard? A question I think is an interesting scenario. Mm-hmm. You are a pro athlete, a WNBA player. Yeah. Part of broadcast team with Phoenix Suns and doing that thing. You're in the light. You're a celebrity. Like, does that make that much harder when it comes to like a man, not just a man of God, but just a man? Because a lot of people they don't understand the space. You might be. What's their angle? What's their motives? Like, is that hard?
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm a celebrity. I wanted to hit on that. I'm a dork over here.
You're
seriously.
definitely a celebrity. You're definitely a celebrity.
I don't know about that, but I will say that it is hard, and I think that I'm not like a small petite girl either. And so I think a lot of people are sometimes intimidated by how big I am. Like I'm loud and I'm confident. Like that's just how I was raised. That's just who I am. And I'm not going to change that for anyone. So when I walk in a room, the majority of the time people, if you don't see me, you hear me. You know what I mean? So whatever. But I do think that like it does make it really hard to find, especially out here in Phoenix. I swear there's no men here.
Oh man.
0.
Wow. Okay. There's nothing in Scottsdale,
nothing.
Huh?
Nothing.
You've seen it all.
I haven't seen it all.
I've explored all of it. There's nothing there.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So a man of God, a man that leads you.
I need him to be tall too.
Like how tall? Like ideally, like if we're just dreaming, we're little kids in middle school, and you're playing the little games on what your future spouse is going to look like. We talking like, 6'2", 6'3", 6'5", 6'8", just taller than you.
I don't know, because then to me it's like, wait. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
What if somebody was like 5'8"? Man, they were like such a man of God. I mean, you're 6'1".
And they come up to my belly button? No, absolutely not.
They're like, but they love Jesus.
That's great. We will be best friends.
It's a good looking 5'8".
We'll be best friends.
Okay, you're gonna just pass.
Yeah,
you're passing on that
too.
So that weeds out a lot of people. I mean, if you're looking for above 6'1", that's why you can't find anybody in Phoenix.
Well, and around here, they all have more Botox than I do. So it's like, I need like a man, I need a man.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, but you're also in your 20s. So.
But almost, yeah, I guess.
When we'll have to do this again when you're in your mid 40s, 50s. We'll talk about the Botox thing.
Literally.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Yeah. So do you have what are the things like when it comes to the WNBA specifically? What are some of your greatest moments?
Ooh, man, I like that question. There's been a lot of great moments on the court. I mean, when you really are playing alongside the GOAT, Diana Taurasi, BG, she's going to be one of the greats.
Yeah.
And then there's just a lot of people who've been in and out of our team since I've been here. Well, actually, a lot of people don't realize, like, this is my 6th year with Phoenix, but the first 4 seasons were awful, like miserable. And even last year, like, not great. Like, it has been draining. I've had 4 head coaches in the last 6 years. We've had new ownership, new GM, a lot of just like front office turnover as well. So it's just like nothing's been consistent. And so I think my biggest thing that I've actually really loved is getting to know my teammates on a very deep level. And I know that sounds so corny and whatnot, but yes, basketball is great. And there's been games that have been phenomenal that I'll never forget. There's been plays that have been awesome. People who've been at our games that everybody knows around the world. But like for me, it really is the relationship that I've created with my teammates that I will like never forget. So.
No, that's great. What about as far as like a moment, like a win, a moment of achievement or success? Like, is there a moment? I love what you said, because that reveals who you are. Because I just asked you, one of your greatest, and you literally talked about people, friendships, the depth of that, and that's revealing of who you are.
Well, what's crazy to me though is like, when you're in this industry, and I know you have the same experience, like you get to meet a lot of well-known people. And I always want to say, oh, you're going to meet a lot of cool people. Sometimes you meet these people and you realize they're actually not cool at all. And like, you'd much rather be on the other side of the world than be right next to them.
That's a word.
That is. It really is. It truly is. And I will say my first year in the league, I'll spare the names of it, but we were all out to dinner, and I'm a rookie in the WNBA, and like we're making more money now, but I was legit. I'm not scared to say this. I was making $42,000. Yeah. Like I should have been a teacher. Like, what am I doing?
Right.
And so we were all out to dinner, and these people who are making millions that people know, they're like, how are you so happy? Like, why are you like so fulfilled? And I'm like, what? I'm like, you could have whatever you want. You're married. You have X, Y, and Z. And they're like the most empty people in the whole world.
Yeah.
And I'm like walking in there, and they're like, well, who's this? Like, why is she so confident? And I'm like, Yeah, like I have heaven eyes. I have a heavenly mindset. Like that's one thing about this. What I do that I've really learned is like all these people, yeah, they have it all, but they really have nothing.
Wow.
And like that's why I love getting to know people on a deeper level, because it's like, okay, you might feel that way, but come to church with me. Like, let's go have coffee. Like, let's go talk. Like, let's go do this. And I think that is like, there's so many times since I've been in the league that I'm like, why am I here? Like, am I really supposed to be here? Like, it is hard. Like, sometimes you don't have people that really, are like you or believe in the same thing as you, or on the same page as you. And it's really hard to be like the only one standing strong sometimes.
Right.
But I've always reminded myself, I have a tattoo here, it has 3 different meanings, but one of those is be the light. Be a light regardless of whatever situation you're in. And I've really come to realize that like maybe God had me here this whole time to just plant those seeds in people's lives just a little bit here, a little bit there. And sometimes I don't know maybe what they're doing now, but I know that it's had a huge impact on their lives.
I think you reminded me of it. So when I was, I don't know, in my first few years, as the chaplain for the Suns, 20 something years ago, I had a player that was about to retire, and he spoke to me privately and loved the Lord. And he goes, PT, and he actually was emotional. He had some tears in his eyes. And like, he said, and it was in the arena, it was behind closed doors. And he said, I feel like I've missed my moment. And I said, what do you mean? This was a vet. He'd been in the league probably, I don't know, 10 plus years. And he said, and then he talked about a friend who wasn't a believer, didn't know Christ. And he said, he's one of my best friends in the world, but I've never actually shared my faith with him. Like, we hang out all the time with this. And so, but I said, well, the thing is, you're going to be friends with him for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So you didn't have to share it while you're in the league.
Exactly.
You're going to be in their lives forever. And I think about you in that regard with the depths of your relationships. Those far outlive a career in basketball.
Oh, yeah.
10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you're still in a relationship with these people, and they know that you follow the light.
Yep.
And when they go through hardship, you're gonna be the one they call.
Yeah.
You're gonna be their pastor. You're gonna be the voice, of God for them.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty impressive.
Well, thank you. And it's crazy because I don't like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Like, I feel like I'm like the furthest person who they should be coming to advice for sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when you are in those situations, I truly do believe, and I've experienced it, that God uses you as a vessel, and you don't even know what you're going to say, but it just flows out and it hits perfectly for that person. And so I've experienced that so many times being in the league. It's funny when little kids come up to you and they ask, instead of like, hey, like, well, who's your favorite player? It's like, hey, what's your favorite Bible verse? Yeah. And like, to inspire young kids, and like they're at a sporting event, they're asking about God. Like, hello, like this is a whole bigger thing that we're dealing with. And I love that I'm on the platform, and I love that basketball has given me the platform to kind of inspire young kids too. It's awesome to be a believer. And if you're like that, I couldn't survive if I wasn't. Like, I literally could not survive in this industry, let alone life, if I did not have God on my side.
No, you're definitely a light,
Thank you.
Bright light.
Appreciate it.
In a dark universe, as Scripture says, right, that we shine like stars in a dark and crooked universe, and you're one of the stars that are shining. What is a favorite Bible verse? Do you have a verse that you've been leaning on?
I do. Oh, my mom called. That's nice. She never answers me. Let's see here. So I always have one kind of every year, what it speaks to me. Sometimes I just open up the Bible around New Year's. I'm like, what is like my word going to be? And it always just hits home. And I'm not just trying to be like a cornball over here. It's like, yeah, you really do know me. And I feel like this year I've had so much confidence and peace in my life because I'm controlling what I can control. And I I really am like having a heavenly mindset. Like the kingdom is everywhere. And I've just been like so happy. And so I don't worry about basketball. But you could look, and I've started the past 2 years. Now I'm sixth man or seventh man off the bench. And a lot of people are like, oh, how? I'm like, I'm great. This is part of my journey. This is where I'm supposed to be. And my Bible verse for this year so far has been Isaiah 60:22. And it's, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. And so
good.
It is. And that applies in every aspect of my life. When people are like, oh, who are you dating? I don't know. God knows. And he'll figure that out. You know what I mean? Sports. What am I doing in the off season? What am I going to do when I'm done playing? Like, I don't know, but I trust in him. And I know I'm going to be more blessed than I can ever imagine if I worry about it right now.
When the time is right.
Yeah, I, the Lord, will make it happen.
That's so good.
So good.
So many people need to hear that right now.
Yeah.
Like when the time is right, because we want the time to be right now.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like the new generation, especially with social media, it's so easy to compare your situation to other people's situation.
Yes.
Coming out of college, it's like, where's all my money at? Like, I'm a pro now. Like, where's it at? No, that's not how it works.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you still got to work your way to where you want to be. And I think there's just, you can worry, you can have a lot of anxiety, especially in what I do for a living. Like you could get cut and you won't have a job, or you'd have to go be shipped overseas and play over there and be away from your family for 9 months at a time. Yeah. And so there's so much that you could worry about, but I always choose to look at the positive because I know that God has got me.
What about like, as far as a personal struggle, like what is Sophie Cunningham's like personal struggle? And I think, because so many of us, it could be, it could be stress, it could be anxiety, it could be shame, it could be guilt, it could be like, we all deal with stuff, right? What about for you?
I think, I think mine would probably be guilt, because I know I've done things in my life that I'm better than. And like, I serve too good of a God to be acting like that. And so that's something that I have learned. And like, sometimes it's not always perfect. Like sometimes like, am I worthy? Like, should I be here? Should I be in a room with you guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, that's who God is. That's who Jesus is. And for me, I know I'm forgiven. I know he has me, but now it's like, trust that. Like, stop being so hard on yourself. You know what I mean? And so I think guilt would be a really good one. But something that's really actually helped me the past couple of years is watching the show Chosen on Netflix or Prime. But like, it has really opened up my mind on how the Bible really is. Like, you can read a Bible, but I'm a visual person. So once they kind of brought it to light, like I don't know. I think that guilt has really kind of slowly trickled away because I really got to see how Jesus really was towards people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real, because that's something, first of all, I think every human being on earth would struggle with guilt.
Yeah.
Or shame. And depending on our past might depend on the level of guilt or shame. But you just touched on something I want to go back to, is that to make sure that everybody, our listeners are like, you're forgiven.
Yeah.
The Bible says if you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord, you are saved. It says in 1 John that if you confess your sins, he's faithful and just to forgive us our sins. Yep. But what the enemy tries to do is keep dangling it in front of you. And like, Sophie, you're not a woman of God. Yeah. Remember this? Yeah. Travis, you're not a man of God. Travis, you have no business being a pastor. You have no business being a child. You have no business. And like, me too, because you're like, man, I mean, maybe I don't. And but that's the lie of the enemy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the lie of the enemy. That's a good word.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great word. What about maybe some of the hardest things you've ever been through?
Yeah.
In your life.
That's a good one. I feel like, I don't know why people, when they look at me, they're like, oh, she's just so like
happy. Ball of joy.
Yeah, happy-go-lucky. Nothing bad ever happens to her. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a squirrel brain. If you only knew. But I will say, I think one of the hardest things that, and I don't even know if I've ever dealt with it even today, because I just like don't have the time for it. I know that sounds awful, but my best friend, his name was Cameron. We grew up together since we were 1 year old. His dad left him and his mom. And so my dad kind of was like his father figure. And like, we were like two peas in a pod. Like if he was still alive today, like you'd be like, oh, are you guys twins? But, so we grew up together, all this stuff. And then freshman year of high school or college, my bad. He actually committed suicide. And that is like,
wow.
Yeah, like it is like one of the worst things that.
That's not long ago.
No, I mean, I guess. Well, I'm kind of getting old. Like it was almost like, well, oh my God, how old was I? I think I was like 19 or 20
years ago or something.
Yeah. And so, I think that was like one of the hardest things that I probably still legit have not dealt with because when I found out I was in study hall and my mom called me and she's like, "Hey, like, where are you?" And I was like, well, in study hall. And she's like, oh, she's like, proud of you. Cause like, wasn't the most schooly person to be honest. And so she's like, well, proud of you. But she's like, who are you around? And I'm like, well, just like my teammate. She goes, okay, well, I need you to like go sit down somewhere. And I was like, what is going on? And, he kind of got in like with the wrong crowd, had so many talks with him, like was on him, like, just like, come up here, come be with us, you know, that type of thing. And, he ended up killing himself. And so it was awful. It was like an outer body experience. Like I lost it. And so it was crazy though, because that day I still had to go to practice and then I had to play a game 2 days later. And so it's like, I'm 19 years old. Like, what do you expect of me? And then not only was that hard, but again, kind of sing actually a little bit sometimes. His mom asked me to sing at his funeral. And like, that was like my brother. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to like, wow. I don't know how to handle myself. You know what I mean? And so, I like prayed about it and I'm like, you know, Tammy deserves this. Like if something were to happen to me, I'd want Cameron to be there and like whatever my mom asked, I would want him to do, you know what I mean? And so I think the hardest thing that I've actually ever had to do was sing at his funeral. And it was, I can only imagine. And it was no instruments, no nothing. It was just me. And like, all I could see was him and his mom. And it was like the most awful, but like best thing I've ever done. But, yeah, that was like probably the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with.
That's incredible.
Yeah. But I'll say that like having that happen to you, it has like, I don't take the little moments for granted anymore. Like I actually genuinely ask like, hey, how are you? Like, I want to know because I've seen people be like, oh, I'm good, but they're freaking miserable. And it's like, no, let me help you. I don't even have to say anything. Like just talk to me. And so I think that's really deepened my relationships with everyone I meet. I walk around with a certain type of joy now because I just want people to feel happy. Like I want people to feel comfortable and at peace and feel like they're worthy and enough to be here. Because sometimes I do feel like I try, but sometimes I like do feel guilty because I'm like, did I try hard enough? Like what more could I have done to help him? So yeah.
I think we can't emphasize enough that every person was created by God and for God and has purpose. Yeah. And that's the other thing. The enemy tries to steal that. And he tries ultimately in some cases, I can steal that if I take their lives. Yeah. And to understand that if anybody is watching that is having those thoughts is that, no, we love you. Yeah. And that you matter to us and to God and to a lot of people. Yeah. And not to buy the lie of the enemy that I don't matter or that life is too overwhelming that I can't take another step because we can. Yeah. But a lot of times, when we find out stuff, it's too late. Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that he brought so much joy. He was a hilarious human, like a phenomenal person. Yeah. He had like 8,000 people at his funeral, like out of the church, couldn't like, so it just showed the impact that he had. Yes. But I do think that right there also showed me like we're all a lot more similar than we want to believe, than anything. And I think that is so powerful that like talk to anyone and you're going to find something you have in common with them. And you're going to like
you're going to like people. Like, give people a
Yes.
chance. Like, we are just, our world today is so judgy and just like, I just hate it. So that's
Yeah.
why I really do try to be a really genuine, happy person, because
Yeah.
I really do think that, like, I don't care who you have in front of me. I will like them, and I know they'll like me. Let's just have a conversation.
Man, I think that's so good. Our world has gotten to where it's so divisive.
Yes.
And, Jesus said a house divided against itself shall not stand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that globally. And I think about that in every facet of life,
Mm-hmm.
the division.
Yeah.
And then, everybody's pointing out the differences and the division. And this is why we shouldn't. It's like, yeah, but like you said, we actually have everything in common.
Yes.
Even with somebody that you thinks radically different than you, we have so much in common.
Yes, absolutely.
And I always say I prefer to be a bridge builder than a wall builder.
Yep.
And try to create, bridges to where, hey, we might, like, what do you think about this topic? Well, I might not think like you, but we can still be family.
Yes.
What do you think about that topic? Well, I might not think about the way you think about, but you're not my enemy.
Exactly.
Because we don't see it the same way.
Yep.
I still love you.
But that's what they want us to think.
But that's what they want us to
that.
think. Yeah,
Yes.
they want us to think that. And we need more of you. We need more people who have platforms and have voices to be bridge builders.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. What about your family life? Tell me about your parents. I'm a dad. So like I raised, athletes and like, and I'm a little crazy too. It's where my oldest daughter gets it. Like Pastor Travis has been thrown out of gyms as a pastor of Impact Church because he's a little spicy at times. And of course, never was I thrown out for a good reason. It was always stupid, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the grind of a dad. I mean, I coach my oldest daughter in club. I coached her in high school ball. Like it's a grind. But how important of a role did your parents play in your life to becoming this woman of God, but also an athlete?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm like the lamest human in our family because our family's freaking awesome. Like, I'm not just saying that. Everyone, it starts with my grandparents. We call them Mama and Papa. And it's like Mama, my mom, and myself. And like,
kind of say like Mama.
Mama. Mama, a little country over here.
Yeah,
so,
see that.
But it is so funny because she has two sisters. So those are our great aunts. But they were always around. So they were literally like aunts to us. And then my mom has a sister and a brother who are really close with us who have kids. So like we have a really close extended family. And like we are loud. There's a lot of us. And it's fun. Like it's a great time. And so it's funny because Lindsay and I are kind of the oldest grandkids of that group. I don't even know how to explain my family because they're that psycho and so fun. But I'll just say that like our grandma and grandpa never missed a game. My mom and dad never missed a game. And like they were in it. And it's not like they didn't work. Like my dad had his own construction business. My mom was an editor for our governor, like all over the place. But that's, I think, also why our grandparents were really involved because like my parents were busy as well. And so there was one time that my grandma, like she's loud, like she's old, but she's feisty as heck. But everyone knows her like BG, D, like everyone knows Mama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
and
great.
So one of we were playing our opposing team and someone, they call her Sissy. They made a sign and it said, "Shut up, Sissy," because she would like yell the whole time. And I'm like, that's someone's grandma and you're telling her to shut up. But
funny.
No, it's awesome. But
She probably loved that.
oh yeah, she's a firecracker,
She's
man.
like, bring it.
My parents were super involved. They were our coaches, me and Lindsay's coaches growing up. Again, they played collegiate sports, so they kind of knew what they were doing and whatnot. But when I tell you that we had like the best support system, especially being like tall, big females, like my aunt's 6'3", my mom's 5'11". And sometimes like you would get bullied for being a tall girl. Like people, especially like boys, they'd be like, "Oh, like you should be a boy. Like, why are you so big? You're so big. You're so fat." Like the amount of fat comments I get on a daily basis, I'm like, I would eat you alive. Like, so yeah, maybe I'm fat. But like just all that type of stuff. But my parents were like, and my dad especially, he's like, "So this will be like your greatest power. Like put your shoulders back. Don't let anyone tilt your crown. Yeah. Like you're perfectly made." And like nowadays being in the league, like I'm so glad they gave me that confidence. And so I just want to say even if you're a taller boy or you're a taller girl, like That's your confidence right there. Like, put your shoulder, and even if you're not, like, who cares what height, whatever, I don't care how much you weigh. Like, don't let anyone tell you that your body is not good. It is not perfect. It is not meant for X, Y, and Z. Like, you be confident in yourself and find your identity in Christ, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah. So, amen to that.
Yeah.
Let's rewind. You're college, you're, a rookie in the league. And just the first time you went, like, holy cow, like, that's fill in the blank.
It was Diana.
Yeah.
Because, like, she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And she was like, came in and, like, watched me work out. And I was like, okay, like, I can't miss. Crazy. Yeah. Because, like, no one being drafted to Phoenix is not easy. Like, it is a veteran team, and they don't keep rookies. Like, that is everyone's number one thing is, like, they don't keep rookies at Phoenix when I was drafted. Yeah. And so it was like me, Breonna Turner, and Alana Smith. And so they're both gone now. So I don't know what I'm doing to stay here. Thank you. But so like she came in and like it was like her, Penny, and I think it was like DeWanna Bonner, and they were all just like staring, watching me work out. I was like, don't miss a shot.
No pressure.
Don't miss a shot.
No pressure. Yeah.
It was fun though. So
well, when I was 20, I don't know how old I was, 26 when I started doing chapels with the Suns. And I remember vividly walking from the Phoenix Suns locker room to the visiting team locker room, that hallway. Yep. And the way it used to be. Mm-hmm. And we were playing the Lakers. And at that time, both Kobe and Shaq were on the Lakers. And I remember like both of them walking toward me and I'm like, oh, amazing, right? My gosh.
So Kobe surprised us one time. So the year before he passed away, or the same year he passed away, we were all practicing and coach's like, hey, practice is over. We need to have a team meeting. And she was like, it's like a serious thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. I was like, I didn't do anything, so I'm good. Like, come on. Where's the team? Yeah, like, I want to hear everything. Yeah, you know good. What I mean? And this is going to be fun. Yeah. I was like, okay, come on now. Because we had a lot of drama that year. And we walk in. And we're all sitting there. No one's walked in or anything. And like, it was like 10 minutes. And everyone's like, what is going on? What are we doing? Like, someone do something. And all of a sudden the Mambas, little lady Mambas came, and then Kobe walked in. And I was like, wow, holy smokes. That's cool. And so he was just so genuine though. Like he went up and talked to everyone, and I introduced myself, and I was like, hey, like I'm Sophie. He's like, I know who you are. Like I watched you I was like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like that was cool. Like that should have been my rookie moment. Probably is Kobe, duh. Yeah. But that was super cool, and just like pictures, all that type of stuff. Got to talk to him, pick his brain, talk to the girls. Yeah. It was a really cool moment. And then 5 months after, it was just tragic. Literally.
Absolutely tragic. Rocked everybody.
Yeah.
The whole world. Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about what do you what kind of soften up here, lighten up? What do you like to do outside of basketball? Like hobbies, stuff that you like to do for fun?
Well, Pastor Trav, I'm still trying to figure out how to be an island girl and get paid for it. So if anyone knows, let me know. I love being outdoors. I'm very much like a lake, ocean, pool type of girl. Love hiking, four-wheelers, love to ride horses, like literally anything outside. Like
it's that farm girl coming out.
Yeah. It's just so fun. And I just think, honestly, I need a balance in life, and nature gives me that heavenly perspective, and like it just gives me a gratitude, and I don't know, it fills my cup up in the best way when I'm away from everyone. Yeah,
that's great. Well, I think too, like you just said something. I think of this all the time, where when you're in nature, like something you're out away from all the hustle, all the bustle, all the busyness, and you slow down for a minute, whether you're on the ocean, you're on a lake, you're in a forest, whatever it is. I think it's good for us. I think it's good for our mental health.
Absolutely. Right? Yes. And that is, everyone wants to talk about mental health nowadays. And I think it's great, because I think that is something that is much needed in every industry. Yeah. But I'm proud to be a part of the W, I would say, who really pushes for mental health, because I do, just with some of my friends and some of my family members and whatnot, the things that they go through, like, it's not talked about enough. And so I'm all for it. I think even when you're good, you should talk to people.
Yeah.
But sometimes we talked about last night at rally that, you can go to all those things, but your best thing is a Bible and get your butt in nature. And like, that's where I'm at kind of in the winter. It's too hot in the summer to be doing that.
In this city.
But in the winter, like, I really do. I take my Bible, I go to Piesta Peak, and like, that's my time alone.
That's so cool.
It's fun.
What would you change about the WNBA if you could snap a finger and change it?
Oh, that's good, man. I think it's moving in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Dang, I just think that, and I'm all for, like, I think women deserve just as much as the men, but I am never someone who's like, we don't need men. Like, we need men.
Yeah.
Like, we do. Like, and I think y'all need us and we need you. That's how we were built, right? And I just think, though, like, social media and the things that sometimes our league does, it makes it sound so much better than what's, like, actually happening. Yeah. So, like, example, and I'm grateful, but like you asked, is like, they're like, oh, charters for everybody, and they're like, oh, you're gonna get big charters, like, da-da-da. We're sitting on like top of each other. There is no Wi-Fi. The plane works half the time. You're getting home at 5 a.m, and but you have everyone like, oh, it's great, you guys are, and they're like, stop complaining and be grateful. I'm like, I am grateful, but I'm rather fly commercial now. Like, don't be telling people you have us doing that, and it's not that at all. So I just think the pay, definitely, but again, perspective. You were making a pretty good living for playing basketball 5 months out of the year here in the States. But I don't know. I just think like the respect of being an elite level athlete, it's getting better, but it's just not quite there yet.
What do you think about the pay?
Oh man,
like I've read so much. I've been in conversation with so many people. There's 10 ways to see it and view it. But like, what's your view on it?
It's trending in the right direction for sure, right? I think it's just frustrating because the money's out there, but they're just not. They're not doing what they're supposed to with it, right? And so I do think with this push of Angel and Caitlin and Cameron Brink and that, like the eyes, it also, there's a lot of positive, but it also shows like a lot of things that we need to fix as a league. Us as players who've been in it, we've known it all along, but it takes kind of maybe new eyes and fresh faces to really push that needle forward a little bit more. And so I'm a part of our Players Association. Can't really say much on that because but I do think in the next however many years, like we're going to be getting paid a lot more money. And I think it's deserved because it does not make any sense to be playing here and then you get shipped off and you're playing that. You're just going to get injured. And like your athletes should not be playing year round like that, especially with how high intensity, like how intense it is overseas. You get beat up as an American over there. Like they get, if you have that W card, like if you have that on your resume, people are going to go after you extra harder over there. And so if we can keep our athletes here and come up with a league to have them play in the off season, which I think a couple of the athletes are doing, that's nice. You have a lot of people doing commentating nowadays for their respective markets and whatnot. So that's good. So there's definitely more people hiring us more to do things in the off season. But if you would just pay us what you're supposed to be paying us, then like, we'll be happy,
Yeah. And I think for the most of the world, they don't necessarily, they think they know what's going on. They maybe don't know what's going on. And so I think that's a valid point. It's like, I would say is heading in the right direction, in a healthy direction. Well,
and to be honest, like a lot of people don't know that we make all of our money through like endorsements, marketing. Like you can go look online and find our paycheck, but that's you're not making your money.
The best players in the league aren't making a lot from the team.
No. So,
and a lot's relevant, but we're talking about pro basketball.
Exactly.
We're talking about NBA and WNBA.
But that's something that honestly, you just like as a player and just being in it, like I used to kind of get frustrated about it because it's like, what are you doing? Like I should have gone to school to become a doctor or something. Like I could have taken care of myself a lot more. But it's getting better, and I just don't worry about it anymore because that will make you go crazy. And I'm like, I have more than enough than I need. I'm living a very blessed life. I am happy. I'm taken care of. And so it's like kind of changing your perspective a little bit until things are better for us, I would say.
What if you were to tell a 13-year-old girl that's playing basketball, a 16-year-old girl that's playing by an 18-year-old girl, if you were to give them a piece of advice,
I love this,
and you could tell them one thing, what would you tell them?
So this is a piece of advice that my parents always gave us, and it's like the most simple thing, but it's true. They're like, be the hardest worker. Don't let anyone outwork you, and smile. Like, go out there and enjoy it. And people, I'd always get like, I still do. People are always like, why is she always like laughing and like smiling? Like she's not taking it serious. I'm like, no, if I'm doing that, I'm kicking your butt. Like I'm
having a good time.
I'm doing my thing. And so I think for me is like everything that I've always had to work harder. And I know everyone says that, but like being from the Midwest, like it is really hard to become known and seen, to become a high recruit. My family was not professional athletes, and like on the East and West Coast, you typically, the more I'm in this, like everyone's like, oh yeah, my dad was a pro. I'm like, and my mom was. I'm like, well, that makes sense. You know what I mean? So it's like a first generation thing for me to be that. But I just always had to work harder for what I wanted. But I am so grateful for that. I have that blue collar mentality, and so that's one thing. Like I'm not a gym rat. I'm not going to be in the gym 12 hours. But when I'm in there for that 3 hours, no one's outworking me. And like my teammates can attest to that. My coaches can attest to that. Anyone who's ever played against me can attest to that. That like you're not going to outwork me. And so that's my best piece of advice. If you want something, go work for it, and eventually it will come, and you'll have everything you want. And smile. Like after you work hard like that, go out there and enjoy it. Why would you not? Like you work your tail off all week and finally it's game day. Like don't go out there and like be mad. You know what I mean? Like go out there and enjoy it with your teammates and kick the other team's butt.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Outwork everybody. Be the hardest worker in the gym.
Anything. And that doesn't have to be sports. That could be
the hardest worker
in general, right?
Yeah.
Like what you do, be the hardest working pastor. Like if you're a coach, if you're a gymnast, a doctor, whatever it is, just be the hardest worker. Good things will happen.
You're reminding me of a scripture in Colossians 3:23 that says, whatever you do whatever you do, do it with all your heart, all your might, as unto the Lord. And I think for each of us, in whatever our profession is, whatever sandbox we're playing in, that's very important to as unto the Lord, unto the Lord, as unto the Lord, right? Like playing for an audience of one.
Yeah.
And that's something I share with athletes all the time. It's like, what are you actually playing for?
Yeah.
Because what can happen is you play because you love it when you're a kid.
Yeah.
You play because you love it. I love it. I'm in middle school, 5th grade, 6th grade. I love it. And then high school, the pressure, but I still love it. And then college, you start to not love it.
Yeah.
And then you get to league, and then it's like, and on the NBA side, it's like I'm playing for that contract.
Oh yeah,
it's
all money.
It's all money.
It's all about money.
I'm playing for the money. I'm playing for the money. I'm playing for the money. I'm playing for the fame. I'm playing for the fortune. Not everybody.
No, yeah.
But it's easy to slip into that mentality.
Yeah.
And I think what I try to encourage is like we're gonna play for God and play like Jesus is sitting on, courtside, half court with your jersey on. Yeah. Shouting Sophie, Sophie, like let's go, because I think that pulls us up to that standard of whether it's practice or a game. Like, man, I'm doing this like I'm doing it for Jesus.
And I think everyone falls victim to that of like, you don't mean to, but like this league is so hard to stay in that like if you're not trying to like beat that other person out or like become known or be the best, like you might be out of the league. You know what I mean? And so sometimes you do make money and being known in whatever an idol. And like I've fallen into that a couple times where it's like, whoa, like what am I doing here? Like that is not what I'm about. That's not what I want to be about.
Yeah.
And so like stepping back and getting that perspective, like when you really do put God first in everything that you do, like everything opens up, everything. And like, and I believe that because I have not commentated ever in my entire life. I got injured in France. And the commentating job just opened up, like just opened up out of nowhere. Like you cannot tell me. And then they chose me out of everyone. Like there are people who go to school to do that for a living, and they want my big head up on the screen talking trash to Tom and Tom.
That's favor.
You know what I mean? Where I'm like, what are like, thank you. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what I want to do when I'm done playing.
Yeah.
But it's like little things like that when you really do give your life to him and like, It could be you're holding on to your career so hard and you're trying to work so hard, but if you're just like, Lord, just take my career, like take this money, take this, like it doubles, it triples, and it's just like, it's amazing. It really is. And you have so much more peace about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. The peace part. That's huge. Huge.
Oh my God.
That.
We're both
then there's that. Yeah.
Crying, shaking.
Yeah. Exactly. That part, the peace. It's like, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to think, but I know why I'm doing it and I know who I'm doing it for. Yeah. And I know what I'm giving and putting into it. Yeah. So that's my conviction level. And that does bring a sense of peace.
Yes.
Like, hey, if my best is not good enough for you, it's good enough for him.
Facts. Yep. I love that.
I love it. Well, thank you for joining us today. This has been great.
This.
Yeah. Well, we'll be rooting you on.
I love it.
Keep going.
You guys are the best.
Keep
I appreciate
marching.
you.
Appreciate you.
Yup.